to a shamanic experience. I'm Katie Weatherup, shamanic practitioner and solo traveler. If you believe mountains hold ancient wisdom and rivers cleanse, you're in the right place. Let's explore the energy and magic of places near and far, and I'll share practical travel tips along the way, one sacred location at a time. Some years ago, I visited Rosslyn Chapel in the UK, and if this sounds familiar, there was a Dan Brown book, the Vinci Code, that had a pivotal part of the story that took place in this rather obscure, wacky, cool, amazing chapel. And I had heard from people in my community who had visited, oh, the energy is really amazing. It was really fun and interesting to get there because we went on a tour and very tongue-in-cheek, the guide was talking about how they were learning about what was there on the internet and all these hidden compartments that people were claiming existed and so on and so forth. And it was also just really interesting to be there in the following time of this, again, rather obscure chapel that, again, is super duper cool, having made it into much more collective consciousness. And so the revenue resulted in this massive visitor center and a lot of repairs and support for the chapel itself, which is super cool. It's a really neat, interesting place. And this was part of a tour through different parts of the UK. We started flying into London and then flew up to Inverness and then took the train up to the Highlands and through the Highlands to the ferry to the Orkney Islands, hung out on the Orkney Islands for a while, flew down to Edinburgh, and then drove our way back down to the London area, hitting all kinds of really specific curated sacred sites that I had picked out. It was back when I was leading groups in travel, and it was a really amazing trip. But the thing that stood out for me about Rosslyn Chapel is, for sure, there are really potent ley lines that run through. So went through the chapel and the grounds, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a power spot, no doubt. And it just wasn't my power spot. So I didn't have any unpleasantness or dislike of the energy or antipathy for the energy, but neither did I have the affinity and the delight and the, oh my goodness, I love being here. So later in the trip, we were in Glastonbury and at the Chalice Well and hiking up the Tor, and those are very potent power spots that are totally my jam. Absolutely adore the energy, moves through me in a really wonderful kind of way. And so it was really an interesting and novel experience to be on land that had some very potent ley lines running through and just be of the like, this isn't my jam. This isn't for me. I was glad I had the experience because it was super interesting. And even if you never go to Rosslyn Chapel, it's worth pulling up the images because they have all of these really crazy green men faces that are carved, and green men are a really big part of the nature religion that preceded Christianity. And so to have this nominally Christian church built in this, era with all of these representations of nature, I'm sure they spun it a certain way. Of course, appropriation of the previous religion into the religious symbols of the religion that's coming in is a tried and true playbook. But this chapel really takes it to an extreme place. And so it's really wacky and cool and amazing to see and amazing to think about in context of the time and who signed off on this and who, kind of supported this very, very interesting experience. I can't say that I've made a thorough journey through, temples and chapels and cathedrals, but I have been to the UK several times. I do tend to prioritize those, and I've just never seen anything that comes even remotely close. So all of this is to say, if you feel called to visit, I think it's a neat, interesting, cool place. But the invitation that I really want to offer with this is to notice that a place can be a power spot. it can be a power spot that is blissful and amazing, and someone you like and respect just waxes poetic about all the wonderfulness of this particular place. And it can just be not your jam. It can just be like, yeah, that really doesn't have energy to offer me, which was surprising because most of the places that I venture to, I end up having these really rich experiences. So it was sort of startling to have earth energy that wasn't particularly my jam. I sometimes have that experience with Sedona. I like Sedona a lot, but in the Red Rock area, there's some really specific places that are a good match for me, but most of it is just kind of overstimulating, and it feels like earth magic that's up to something that's pretty indifferent to humans. I feel like there's a lot of take apart and recycling and upwelling and cool stuff. Like, for sure there are vortexes there. I've been a little dubious about putting my rather sophisticated energy body in the midst of a vortex without a certain amount of discernment. But as soon as I leave the Red Rocks and go into the surrounding area, there's all kinds of potent energy that I resonate with very, very deeply. So all of this is to say, no matter what I say about power spots or someone you respect says about power spots, your unique experience of what land is right and good and potent and has inspiration and magic and support for you is something to really trust, because we all have different places on the planet. One of the things that's been challenging over the years of living in San Diego is the cost of living is very, very high here. And I've had a lot of very dear friends move away to other places. And one of the big bummers is they didn't all go the same place. They scattered as far as Alaska and Hawaii and the East Coast and Texas. And it would have been so convenient if they had all sort of agreed on a place so that I could, either join them there or visit often. But what was absolutely the right thing for different people is different. And I think that especially when we're early on the path, it can be really easy to trust what other people tell us more than our direct visceral experience. So if you have someone you like and respect who goes on at length about how glorious a place is, it's really easy to kind of get your head turned by that. And at the same time, once you know people who have given you really good travel recommendations, and obviously this can apply to someone who has similar taste in restaurants or lodging or activities, because there are plenty of people who could be totally thrilled about an experience I would just objectively never want to have. But even the specifics of sacred land, when you have a high hit rate, for example, Kay Gillard, who's one of my favorite shamanic practitioners in the world, has a lot of similarity about what land works for her and what works for me. We're very similar in that regard. So if she were to go somewhere I'd never been and tell me it was epic, I would totally be putting it on my list of cool places to visit and great things to see. Whereas the person who went on and on about how glorious Rosslyn Chapel was, I would not take her recommendations necessarily as being as compelling as someone who really, really, really loved land that I also really, really loved. So I just wanted to offer that. A place can be potent and powerful and just not your jam. And that's part of why I call it a shamanic experience, because it's just an experience that I happen to have as one individual, and lots of people's mileage can vary an enormous amount when it comes to sacred and potent experiences of land. Thank you so much for joining me. To learn more about me and my work, please visit my website at handsoverheart.com. There you can join my mailing list for access to free bonus content in the members-only area. If you've enjoyed this, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. It would help me out a lot. If you'd like to receive personal shamanic support from me and my team of guides, please consider joining my Patreon community. You'll find the link below. And again, thank you so much for listening. This is Katie Weatherup, wishing you wholeness and happiness.